Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vase. Now, initially this was going to be a Bitcoin brief episode. We put together stories and everything, but unfortunately, people were not able to make it, last minute commitments, and I will still do my best to bring you another news episode. Probably not today, but we will try again tomorrow. Hopefully I can get Jimmy, hopefully I can get Giacomo, and hopefully I can get Leah back. No one has seen Leah on YouTube in a long time. So I am trying to bring back those shows. It's just very hard to coordinate because people got even busier than all of us were before. All right, so, but the price of Bitcoin never sleeps. So let's go ahead and jump over to screen share, and we can at least look at the price of Bitcoin. We begin, of course, with the tonevase.com website, where in the workshop section, you can sign up for the upcoming webinar on account and risk management. Very important. If you plan to be a trader for 10 years, no one survives unless you have good risk management. It doesn't matter how good you are as a predictor of price. You will not make it as a trader. What's going on with my... The sun all of a sudden came out. Man, last time I did a show from out here, my computer overheated. At least this time it just poured. So we'll see. All right, and my next in-person workshop will be in Dallas. My travel schedule is still up in the air. I'm still trying to figure out what to do in early September, and in October it is a little crazy, but I'll work on that. And if you want to support my work, please check out the affiliate section. All right. Willie updated a chart. Now, I really wanted Willie to put the bottom line here at exactly 30, and Willie put it at 36. Not exactly sure why. I will have a chat with him. I really wanted it at 30 because that's the one that makes absolutely the most sense. The others just do not. So basically, yeah, 30 is where I really wanted it. But anyway, you get the point. The NVT signal is still telling you we are oversold. In fact, this is where, according to the rules of the RSI, this is where you're supposed to be looking to actually short Bitcoin. If I was using this indicator for trading, I would properly assign the upper band. 70 seems reasonable. And it's when it breaks under 70 is when you have short trades on the table, not when it goes above 70. So just keep that in mind, guys. Okay. Bitcoin. Here's the weekly chart. Last week, we flipped based on sequential to a red one. That means if you were long in the market, this is the first, well, not the first candle, but other than this 9 and this 9, this candle is also telling you you may no longer want to be long in the market as a position trade, position or swing trade. You want to be real careful with the longs. This is a cue to go into cash. Now, the next candle is going to be very tricky. In order for sequential to signal a short trade, it needs to start trading below this red line. Now, the red line is still $1,000 away on the price of Bitcoin. So according to sequential, what you're praying for in a good short trade is for this candle to be as tight as possible, like a doji candle. And you don't want this candle going any lower. And then next week, you want to go lower than that candle. Because if that happens, the short trade gets activated $800 or $900 higher. As it stands now, there is nothing this candle can do other than activate a short trade under $9,000, which is a very risky short trade at that point because the top was at 1,400 and shorting at 9,000 after the top was at 14,000 is not the best risk reward trade. Okay, like it's a trade I would not take. However, I would take this short trade off of this 9 because your risk is very small. You can enter in the beginning of this week on a short trade at 8,700, but you're only risking about $400. Now, if you enter a short trade here at 9, technically speaking, you risk, that's your stop loss, right? That's a 4,000 instead of 400. So it's not a very good risk reward trade. So I wouldn't take it. I only take trades that are good. The daily chart, however, did activate a short trade early this morning. Once the price of Bitcoin dropped below the low of yesterday's candle, which was just above 10,000, like 10,050 bucks. Once that happened, there was a short trade on the table in Bitcoin. Would I have taken this short trade? Probably. I don't like to short Bitcoin. It's a reasonable short trade. I would strongly consider it if I was actively trading in the market and I had exchanges that wouldn't, that were regulated and were offering, good leverage position that protects my capital. I would strongly consider. Is my audio right? Let me double check. Yes. Forgot to check that for the show. Wow, a lot of admins are on. Anyway, so right here, Bitcoin was on a short trade that could have activated. And right now, this short trade is profitable. Where would the stop loss be? I would probably set it around here initially to avoid, like whips, to avoid, swings up. So my stop loss would be approximately $700 above the entry. And if you think $700 is too risky on this trade, then your position size is too big. Then you have to lower your position size. Okay, this is what the webinar is going to be all about, basically, coming up in a couple of weeks. Okay, let's go to the lower level time frame. So right now, my daily is officially bearish. My weekly is neutral. My 12-hour went bearish as of this red line. That's when the short trade activated on the 12-hour chart. It activated about $400 higher than it did on a daily chart. So it really depends on what charts you are trading. If you started the short trade here, where was your stop loss? Well, the stop loss probably would have been about the same. My stop loss would have been about 10,700. So here I'm risking less. So how much would I have been risking if I took the short trade as of the low, as of the break of red one's low? So if I do this, I would have been risking, I guess I'm going to the body of that candle. I would have been risking $352. Did Bitcoin fall $352? It did. It actually fell in the same candle that you entered the trade. And currently, Bitcoin is sitting lower. It's $500 lower. So that means that the stop loss I would now have reset that stop loss to the top of candle number 3. And in 8 hours, I would probably lower that stop loss to the top of candle number 4 on a short trade. This is what we discussed thoroughly in entries, exits, and stop losses webinar, which is available for on-demand purchases. The 4-hour chart is a little bit different, right? So the 4-hour chart technically went bearish on a short trade here on a red 2, but you had a second chance to enter set trade when you broke the prior swing low. At this point, I am looking for a 9 for potentially to take profit off that trade. This would also probably be a break-even trade at this point with a stop loss at break-even. The hourly chart, I don't really care about. I'm not going to talk about this stuff. Bitcoin will break 70 eventually in Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin funding, BitMax funding rate is negative. That actually favors the bulls. I'm not going to talk about the gold-silver ratio. Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Ethereum versus Bitcoin is currently on a short trade in that Ethereum, I am anticipating Ethereum to fall faster than Bitcoin. The short trade activated on a red 2 going below a red 1. It activated here. It also activated there. And until this trade makes me nervous, I'm okay to stay with that short trade. I didn't actually take the trade, but theoretically. Litecoin will activate a similar short trade in Litecoin versus Bitcoin. I'm going to change this to red. Once the current candle goes below this red line, the low of the prior candle, or tomorrow's candle goes below the low of today's candle. I would love to pick up a bunch of GBTC in my retirement fund at much lower prices with a much lower premium. So I'm not chasing it. I don't chase positions. I really don't. The US dollar is on the verge of going to a new yearly high. So every single gloom and doomer that was screaming that the US economy is going to collapse and the dollar is going into hyperinflation should be banned from the internet, because the dollar once again is about to go to a new yearly high. Gold, if the dollar starts to rally, to new to new decade highs, let's put it that way, right? If the dollar begins to rally and starts to approach decade high of 103, and right now we're at 97. Remember, we already rallied from 88, okay? So we don't have that much to go to get to 103. If the dollar starts to push new decade high, that's going to be very, very bad for gold. So while gold is still sitting here looking pretty above 1,400, I somewhat question if that is going to last. Now, if I was, managing retirement funds, I would be long. I would have been long gold as of the break of this Fibonacci line, and right now I would be considering scaling out of gold because of this weekly 9. We can double check the daily, and the daily is on a price flip. And if the daily gives me a red 2 below this red 1 tomorrow, I would be out of gold completely, and I would wait, and I can always re-enter the gold trade above 1430 after it proves to me it's not going to go back below 1400 and stay there. Oil isn't interesting right now. As the dollar rises, the euro is approaching yearly lows. This is critical. Not even yearly lows, 2-year lows. This is very, very, very critical. There was a reason why I did not want to leave Europe with any euros. I made sure I kind of spent them, because when I go back to Europe in September, I intend to buy slightly cheaper euros. Now, of course, the European Union has a monopoly on spreads, and at the airport, the spread is like 30%. So it's totally ridiculous. But in theory, under normal conditions, the euro should go down. If there's one more tick, nope, this already is. We are currently sitting at the second lowest weekly close on the euro versus the dollar in 2 years. This is incredibly bearish into the future, like incredibly bearish. The break of the setup trend line could potentially open the floodgates for euro to dollar parity, which, to be honest, I was expecting even back when I was working on Wall Street. I was very surprised that we didn't hit parity between the euro and the dollar back in 2016. I was fully anticipating that, but that's okay. We're still gonna get it. And the stock market. The stock market is in a very fragile state at the moment. It is starting to show, tiny little leaves of bullishness. But tomorrow will be the big day. It's almost noon, I don't know if that's going to be the top for the day, but what I can tell you is if the S&P 500 is breaking today's high tomorrow and not in the morning session, in the afternoon session, I would be bullish. I would be back as a bull of the S&P. As of right now, I am cautious. As of right now, I still want to be in cash. But if tomorrow we are breaking 3,000 in both cash and what's the high today? Yeah, if tomorrow we're breaking 3,000 after 11 a.m., if we're breaking 3,000 around this time tomorrow, I would be once again bullish the S&P 500. Here, I want to talk about Netflix. So this is why you have to be patient. Yesterday, I clearly stated that I would be interested in buying Netflix if I was an active trader. You know, if this wasn't the first time I was looking at the market, and I was actually looking at it from 8 a.m. into 11 a.m., I would be and managing a portfolio. I would be buying Netflix today, but only if it broke $314.50. I would need it above this 9 candle. It did not do that. So by not doing that, I have no interest in buying Netflix. In fact, I now have a potential interest in shorting Netflix tomorrow if we go below today's low. Now, I don't know where today's low is going to be. There's still 4 hours left in the trading session, right? So I'm assuming that this is the low for the day, and I'm assuming that is the high for the day. I would consider buying Netflix tomorrow above today's high, but I'm still going to be hesitant on that, right? I can even lower that. I would consider buying Netflix tomorrow above the body of the 9 candle, but I would be hesitant. I am now more interested in the short trade of Netflix. So I was all ready to buy into it, but it didn't give me a trade. And now it potentially could give me a short trade. I can think both on the long side and the short side at the same time. Most traders can't. This is very difficult for most traders. They end up not having any direction. They end up getting frustrated, and they end up doing things like, well, I'm always wrong, so if I do the opposite of what I think, then I will make money. But then you start thinking the opposite of what you should do. So then you're once again continuing to lose money. And this is a problem for most traders. It's much better to only trade in one direction. And most people choose that direction to be bullish. I met a guy once who never, ever buys stocks. He only shorts. He doesn't go long ever. The only thing he does is shorts. All he does is look for short opportunities. His business card had a giant bear on it. All he does is short. He doesn't believe in buying anything. He thinks that he can make a lot more money by identifying things that are going to crash because markets fall faster. He doesn't care that historically trends rise. He wants to take the short trade. He wants to make money quickly, and he wants to be done with it. And he only thinks on one side of the market, the short side. Most people only think on the long side. Most professional traders. Thinking on both sides at the same time is actually difficult. Okay. Oh, I got Jimmy now. Damn. Shit. All right, maybe I'll stop this and we'll do a show. Can you do top of the hour, Jimmy? If Jimmy can do a show in 10 minutes, I'll end this and then we'll do the news show. I'm not really going to look at other stocks. Curious about Starbucks. Ooh, Starbucks is pulling back. I would not want to be in that trade. Okay, I had a little debate with a Ripple fan. I was hoping it would be someone from the Ripple company because they would actually be able to answer some questions. You can't debate Ripple fans. They don't know anything. They don't know what's going on. They're just giving you talking points from Ripple, the company. What I can tell you is this. On our morning show, on our news show, one of the stories we're going to talk about is this. Iran announces gold-backed national cryptocurrency. Okay, now we're going to discuss it. My point is this: Iran should just be using Bitcoin. Okay, not a. I mean, I understand why they want to control their own money, right? That's why it's gold-backed crypto, like Venezuela's, petrol-backed crypto, right? Now, here's the difference between. Here's the difference why Ripple token's a scam and Bitcoin is a decentralized, politically neutral money. And anyone that's involved in Ripple that doesn't understand this is either lying to you or is a complete buffoon. It's one or the other. There's really no in between. Okay. Here's the thing: if I ran now, the U.S. government is already accusing Iran of using Bitcoin to get around sanctions. Now, I don't know if that's true or false, right? I mean, like, I don't believe governments, right? But let's assume this is true. Iran can use Bitcoin to get around sanctions. And all the US government can do is yell and scream and try to ban Bitcoin, but A, they will fail to ban Bitcoin. I'm going to stop the share. Not only will they fail in trying to ban Bitcoin the way they failed in banning marijuana, they will also run into a lot of pushback from the current financial community, like, hey, we have CME futures. Hey, the New York Stock Exchange is about to sell Bitcoin. Hey, Fidelity has already put in millions and millions of dollars providing Bitcoin to financial institutions, right? So the US government has a big problem banning Bitcoin at this point because it's a little too late, okay? All they can do is yell and scream about Iran using Bitcoin to get around US sanctions. Now, Iran doesn't really want to use Bitcoin. Iran wants to use their own currency that they want to create that other countries will accept. That's what Iran wants to do, right? But other countries will probably accept Bitcoin, especially if those countries have functioning companies that can convert them to that country's actual currency. But then again, then the US can put a ban on those countries, and then those countries would be more interested in using Bitcoin to get around US sanctions. Anyway, here's this story is already getting too long. If Iran uses Bitcoin, nothing anybody can do about it. Imagine if Iran said we are going to use Ripple to get around US sanctions. The Ripple CEO would either be arrested the next day or immediately prevent Iran from using Ripple. And he can easily prevent Iran from using Ripple. For starters, he can just burn all the Ripple tokens with their centralized database. Okay, so here's the main difference. Imagine if Iran said we are going to participate in the banking system of what Ripple is building, and that's how we're going to get around US sanctions. What happens to Ripple, the company? What happens to Ripple, the token? They are immediately dead. Okay, this is why Ripple is centralized garbage, and Bitcoin is decentralized, politically neutral, unconfiscatable, censorship resistant value transfer. That's the difference. That's how you need to think about it. Okay. I'm waiting to hear from Jimmy if he can do top of the hour. Otherwise, I can take some of your questions. If not, we might have to try again tomorrow. Hey, Julia's doing videos again. I need to watch Julia Triansky's videos too. By the way, if someone really wants to spread FUD, right? See, people are accusing me of spreading FUD when I try to explain how the Ripple system works. Here's the definition of FUD. If someone, I mean, we got like 100 different publications, right? And they'll write any article for like $100, right? If someone wants to like, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for this. If someone wants to start a pool and like pay like 5 or 10 crypto publications, like $100, to write an article that Iran is now using the Ripple token to get around US sanctions, that would be FUD, because that is probably not true, right? I'm just making this shit up. But if someone was to do that, the Ripple company would learn real quick from the US government that they're centralized, like real quick. Like the US government will basically explain to them why they're centralized, because they'll have to immediately not allow Iran to do that. And it's very, very easy to start this rumor. And that's the difference between centralized and decentralized. So don't tell me anything that Ripple or XRP does is actually decentralized. Okay, Jimmy can do top of the hour. All right, guys, I'm going to end this video and I'm going to start a new one. And we're going to talk about news with Jimmy. Talk to you all in about 5 minutes.